and give you a bit of background first. So, bit of my background, I've been around crypto since 2012.
Hmm.
I was one of the, back in the early days. And I've built many things from like a crypto trading tech to crypto POS system. It was one of the first POS systems to accept Bitcoin back in 2013. And in 2018, I had invested a lot of my own personal money and my family's money into an ICO. And well, maybe if we just mute you, Matt.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. If you just put yourself on mute, that'd be great.
Oh, yes. Sure.
Um, okay, yeah, great. And so I had all this money that we were scammed out of, and um, it wasn't just myself. There are hundreds of people in the ICO who lost money, and I once put together an investigation. So I went to the incumbents, people that already make crypto investigation tools. And the feedback I got was, well, it's only for law enforcement or it's $30,000 a year license fee. And at that point, it felt like I got scammed all over again. So at that moment, I was like, okay, this is going to be my next startup. That was 2018, 2019. I'm going to build this tool myself to solve my own personal problem. Then I'm going to make sure that I'm going to make this tool accessible and available to everybody. So no investor, nobody ever has to be put in this situation again. So that was 2.5 years ago. And as time went on, we started helping out a couple other, you know, two different frauds that are $100 million plus, a couple other, as time goes on, we've been helping out random people here and there. And each experience that we go through, we've been improving the tool quite a bit. So what I'll show you now is it's our investigation tool. Maybe I'll present now. Okay, share your screen. Great. Can you guys, I guess you can see my screen here. So what I've what I've done, this is our website. It's called breadcrumbs.app. As I mentioned before, it's freemium. So anybody can come and use our basic tools for free. And so what I did here was I just looked up the Upbit hacker. So this was a hack about a year and a half ago where, like 300,000 ETH was stolen. And you can look up any address. You can look up any ETH address or any Bitcoin address. And there's so much data on the blockchain. And we wanted to make it easy to consume this data. Because if we're making this tool for retail, for individuals, they're not going to, we want to make sure that you can learn how to use this tool after watching a 10-minute video, not after, going through a $5,000 week-long certification course. So when you look up the address, look up any address, in this case, Upbit hacker, you'll see three rows that show up. The one in the middle, the column in the middle is the address you looked up. Column on the left are all the incoming addresses. So all these addresses that show up here, they're addresses that send funds into the Upbit hackers account, and everything on the right are addresses that are outgoing. So all of these addresses here received money from the Upbit hacker. And the reason we did this is because generally people, when they're using this tool, they ask one of two questions. Where did the money go? So everything to the right, or where did the money come from? Everything from the left. And you can click on any path. So every path, if you click on it, it'll show every transaction that took place between the two addresses. I'll just kind of make this a little bit bigger. So you can see here, obviously, the transaction that took place between Upbit and the hacker's address is the money getting stolen. So of course, that was November 26, 300,000 ETH. And, you can click on the individual transaction there if you want. So of course, the big question that everybody asks is, well, okay, they stole the money. There's, it was like $50 million worth of money. How did what did they do with it? Eventually, they're going to have to put it into an exchange or liquidate it or something. So this is where the fun begins. Of course, everything to the right is where the money went. The other thing to note is it's also sorted from top to bottom of the most amount of money went to this address, second most amount of money went to this address. So what I'm going to do is if I hover over any address, you'll see a container. And this container has different items that you could do, copy the address. If you want to set a label, you can set a private label that only you see about that address. Maybe it's somebody that it's their address. And then the other cool thing, if you just click on it, we have this slider that comes out, and it shows more detailed information about this address. Last transactions, maybe some people from the public, shared some comments about it. And then we have these donuts, money going in, money going out. And this is something that people really like, the date of the first transaction and last transaction. So it kind of gives you a sense of when this address was active. So now for the fun part, where did the money go? So we have this navigation up here where you can expand, the graph. So if we want to know where the money went, we want to go to outgoing. So, when I originally did this, I was doing this with pen and paper and using like Etherscan. Like it was very, very difficult. Just a lot of like time spent going through a lot of different data, sorting through data. But here, within a minute, we can start to get a picture of like where the money started going. So like here, you can start to see this pattern of, moving the money into different accounts and then consolidating it back. These are all like common strategies to hide, to launder funds. Okay, and so as we start expanding out, you can see it's already now like hop number 4, hop number 5. Okay, let's see here. And feel free, like as we're going along, if you guys have any comments, just put it in the chat window. And basically at some point, this hacker has to liquidate the funds. They have to put it into something. They have to like some sort of exchange or something, because at the end of the day, they're probably not going to pay for their rent with ETH. Okay, so start to see, oh, there's a Binance address, there's a Huobi address, Sushi Swap. Let's see. And you can start to see the pattern emerging, which is at about the 10th hop. That's where they started liquidating the funds. Here's a bunch of 5 OKX addresses. So, exchanges like that back then, you could just create multiple accounts. And, like the KYC was pretty light. Yeah, and you guys can start to see the pattern emerging. These are other exchanges here, MXC, BitMax, some more OKX. Cool. These any exchanges? Yeah, okay, so we've got, what's here? Bitbox, I think this is Gatecoin, Gate.io, yeah. So just in a minute or so, we're able to start to put together like, a kind of a graph of showing the flow of money. And, from a high level, that's kind of the investigation tool that we've made it very easy and simple to, some big complicated flow of money. We made it very simple and easy to consume this data and trace the flow of money. Where did it go? Where did it come from? So that's that's one sort of basic example with Ethereum. Because okay, and I'm just going to stop here. If you guys have any questions, or like you're not sure about something, feel free to just put it in the chat window. Okay, maybe I should turn off my messenger and stuff. Okay. So another example, great, welcome, Thomas. Another example I'll show you is, this is like on Ethereum, you have so many tokens. There's hundreds of thousands of tokens that are available. One of the interesting ones that most people know about is Tether. Okay, I'll just stop here. And Adebayo Gates asked, how does the attribution data work? So by attribution data, you mean, like how do we know this is an OKX address? Or how do we know, this is Upbit, or so stuff like that. So we've spent, over the last 2.5 years, we've spent, yeah, human rate, we've spent, we spent a lot of time, it's called honeypotting. So honeypotting is like a process where you would go and, sign up on an exchange and deposit some money. And then, using our tools, we would see, hey, what addresses did the money go to? And so then that's how we would know that, the funds belong to this exchange or that exchange or some other entity, like Uniswap or something like that. And then we built specific algorithms that follow heuristics that, in the end, we've now got about 25 million ETH addresses, and how many more? Now that's, plus smart contracts and all that stuff. So that's how we're able to get a lot of this attribution data. And then okay, so the human readable labels, a lot of them, okay, so I mean, what you're looking at here is actually just from a previous demo I had done. And this is actually just a private label. Whoever Alan Hacker is, it was just an example that I did. Okay, great. Yeah, similar with like this. So this is clearly the wrapped ETH contract. Stuff like that comes from the contract code. They sort of self-identify. Okay. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you another really cool example. First one I showed you was with Ethereum, but a lot of people seem to be very curious about Tether. There's always these speculation coming out and stuff about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the Tether treasury. So Tether treasury, it's clearly self-identified. And anytime new Tether is generated, when they print new Tether, that sometimes it can affect the market prices and stuff. But why don't we do some investigating on it? Now, when we look up the Tether treasury, okay, the default is in Ethereum. And you can see here, okay, some interesting info. We're only looking at Ethereum. So the relationships that the treasury has just for Ethereum are, funds coming in from Bitfinex Cold Wallet, which makes sense because Tether. Okay, so question, are there features for users to let the team know about an address that should be labeled? Yes, okay, great question. And what you're asking about is if somebody can suggest a label, suggest a label to us. And actually that our devs are literally working on that this week. So we'll have something ready for you in about 2 weeks from now, where anybody from the community can suggest a label. Okay, and going back to this Tether treasury, we're only looking at relationships for when Ethereum has been transacted. So you can see, obviously, this is what, a million tether. Oh, and a bunch of ETH, 0.1 ETH went out to here. Okay. But what we want to do is see the actual tether being issued. So there's two ways you can do it. One way is, when I had searched it up, you can search by Ethereum or any ERC20 token. Or if you've already looked up an address, you can just set a filter. So here, we've already gone through and identified which tokens that this address is transacted with. So, these are a bunch of like spammy tokens, stuff like that. But of course, the one we care about is Tether. So let's just add that token here. And I only want to see the token, the Tether transactions, not Ethereum mixed in. So I'm just going to hide the Ethereum transactions there. Okay, and click apply. And check this out. It even changes colors to the Tether colors, which is kind of like that light green. And voila. So what we see here is everything on the left are addresses that, mostly send funds in, and addresses on the right are, outgoing addresses. Now keep in mind, the Tether treasury has actually interacted with more than 10 addresses, on either side. So we just show the top 10, because generally as an investigator, we don't want to bombard you with tons of data. We only show you the top 10. And because in this graph, we're only looking at Tether, see these circles here? So because these circles are bigger, they actually mean that's how much balance of Tether, like 3 arrows capital. They're known in the industry as like market makers. So quite interesting. They're holding, they're holding about 50 million Tether. This USD balance is a little off, but they're holding 50 million Tether. So that's quite a lot. And you can see over time, it's a lot of Tether going in and out, which makes sense for like a group of people that are doing some market making. Of course, Binance is has received a lot of Tether. So it seems like one way. So probably like as Tether is generated, from the Tether treasury, a lot of it goes directly into Binance. So actually, let's see, August 24th. Yeah, so August 24th seems to be, that's probably about right when the last batch of Tether was generated. And okay, so I guess that was about 1 billion Tether went to Binance. Yeah, quite a lot there. Seems like they've used a new Binance address. This is probably their older one. Yeah, you can see like back in June, May, there's a lot of activity in May. Yeah, a lot of Tether going into Binance. For those who aren't familiar, Alameda is Alameda Research. That's FTX. The FTX exchange was originally Alameda Research. So obviously they're big traders of Tether as well. So you can see, they've been receiving a lot of Tether, going back a year ago. So yeah, that's one of the other interesting little cool areas here. Now, if you wanted to actually mix it in with ETH, you can. Okay, so we have a question here. What reporting option do you have? Do you have any export options? Yes, certainly. So actually what I'm going to show you quickly is we have people that are pretty active in our community. So if you just go to community activity, you can see here, there's, us and some other people in the community will share reports, something that happens. So recently there was, I think it was in the news last week, of Evolved Ape. I guess it's some NFT where they did a rug pull. So, this person, they created a report and they shared it with the community. And here you can see like the flow of money seems to be going into a lot of Binance and some exchange that is fairly unknown. Looks like they have another report here as well that they shared. So yeah, if you wanted to do a report, if you want to share it or export it, you can just click on Save Report. There's this Tether. Treasury example. You can put a description, and if you want to make it private or public, you can. So for this, I'll just make it private. There you go. Now it's saved. We do have like an option if you do work in a team with people. If I go back here, there is a, this is part of our freemium package where if you work in a team, here in this example, I'm, working on a team with other people. So all the attribution data, the private labels, everything, I can just make it private so that only people in my team see it. And that would be, part of our business package. Does that answer your question, Matt? Oh, actually, one of the other nice little tidbits that people seem to like is we have this graphing tool. Because, generally it's like you create the graph and then it's like, well, what's going on? What am I looking at? So, generally you take this, you do a screenshot and throw it into Photoshop. But what we've done is we just kind of embedded that in here. So you can just kind of add an arrow, maybe some text, like this is where most of the funds went. And save that. Oh, I have to exit first. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Okay, is it web-based, and do you need a wallet address to use it? Great question. So everything is fully web-based. There's no, like, you just need an email address just to sign up, and that's sort of the minimum threshold. You don't need a crypto wallet. This is all about, making it very easy and simple for people to read read the blockchain data. And that's how it should be, because really this tool should be for everyone. This is about inclusion. Okay, are the graphs cross-chain? Basically, can it be used for chain hopping transactions? Well, okay, so each graph just sticks with one blockchain. But what you can do is within one report, you can add a new tab. And let's say you want to do something around, I don't know, Bitcoin. So at least you want to throw on another chain onto your report. You can do that. But in terms of, hopping around from like showing the flow of money within one graph, you can't really do that. Great, and there we can save that too. What I'll do is I'll actually make this public. So if you guys are on our website, you can actually go and play around with this as we are talking. Yeah, so there I just made, a little Kraken graph. I made it public. It should be accessible now by everybody. Yeah, maybe. Okay, so is it only works in public blockchain networks, not private? Oh, yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're only focused on public blockchains. For private ones, I'd met, well, generally private ones are only enterprise. They're meant for enterprise. So I'm sure, that would be under the jurisdiction of the enterprise to create some sort of analytic software for it. We don't really have plans for integrating with something like a Hyperledger, because our focus is very much on solving the problem of people being able to make sense of the blockchain data. Maybe why don't I just see what other sort of community. Okay, great. See what we. Yes, actually, anybody familiar with MicroStrategy? How they're always in the news every so often, for buying more Bitcoin. So of course we created a report for that. So this is MicroStrategy. This is using the Bitcoin blockchain, and you can see here. Let's see. Yeah, they haven't really bought some since for a few days, but their balance is 107,000 Bitcoin, which is about it's quite a bit of money, $6 billion, which is but here, so one thing that we're currently working on, it's sort of in beta right now, is we have a monitoring tool. Um, and you'll be able to set alerts where you can, get notified by email, telegram, when a transaction occurs. So, you could get notified if MicroStrategy decides to buy some more. Okay, we got a question here. Private blockchains already have identity management. Oh, okay. They already have management solutions built in with it. So tracing is quite easy if you have access to the blockchain, which would make sense because they're very much focused on enterprise. Um, yeah, maybe if I focus on some other stuff. Um, the other cool thing that we've built, which we built this over a year ago, was a Chrome extension. It's still, we still have to revisit it, but we originally built it as a way to see, like, how could we help people investigating. Okay, so this is it here. It's kind of neat. So once you install it, uh, you can turn it on or off. Where the ETH finder kind of it investigates as you're surfing the web. So why don't I just look up any sort of is it ETH here? Yeah, let's look up some sort of Etherscan transaction. So you can see as you surf the web, and I just turn this off. You can see, like, if we're looking at Etherscan, just kind of make it bigger so you guys can see it a bit better. Okay. You don't really get all that attribution data, but we have millions and millions of 50 million Bitcoin addresses, stuff like that. So as you're surfing the web, if you have our Chrome extension installed, you can have it automatically detect when there's an ETH address on the screen, and we'll show you, like, obviously this is Binance address. You hover over it, our slider comes out, and as you can see here, the slider is actually our original version of the slider. But on our roadmap in the next month or so, we'll be adding, we'll be improving it quite a bit. So that's, these are all the kind of tools we're trying to build to make it so easy for anybody to to do investigations, especially as they're surfing the web. Um, or the other main thing is we're hoping to make this a way to protect people, kind of like a LifeLock, or a Norton antivirus. As you're surfing the web, how can we protect people from phishing schemes? And so we're planning on building that into our Chrome extension. Yeah. Is there maybe anybody in the audience can give me an example of something you'd like to? Oh, okay. Somebody's raised their hand. How do we open queue? Okay. Oh, I guess you can ask a question, James.
The example you just showed, I didn't see
Yes.
anything. Is it just because the sharing wasn't showing a pop-up? I guess I'm a little confused, but I imagine there was like an added thing to that ether scan page, and I
Oh,
just didn't see
I
it.
see. Okay, sorry, it was a little fast there. Maybe can you see it now? It sort of slid in on the right.
Uh, oh, okay, sorry, I was zoomed in. Okay, never mind. There it is.
Got it, got it. Yeah, sorry. I try to zoom in to make it easier for everyone because I got a really big screen. But yeah, that's
Okay, I was on a phone just zooming in. Sorry about that.
it's all good. But yeah, the whole idea here. Thank you for your question, James. Cool. We got 10 minutes more left, so get in your questions now. The main thing is in the early days we were kind of experimenting, trying to see like what somebody, if you're just an everyday person, but you want to make it really easy to investigate as you're going around the web or because there's just so much data. How do we make it so easy for people to do that? And this is an example of that. This would work if you're reading something from a CoinDesk article or any sort of public site. Cool. Let me check if there's 10 minutes more left. Okay, great. Um, yeah, do you guys,
Look, can I come in? I know you did a great
please?
presentation. Yeah. So one question I have is that I'm trying to figure out like how a person. I mean, by tracking that, the person is gonna figure out that it goes to a wrong place, right? You don't have a
Hmm.
situation where you say that okay, like you don't have a black list of the kind of the ether. Just for example, when someone goes to a network and just have a specific red spot, say that look, these are red, like these are known like hackers. You don't have such options for beginners. They go there saying like you have been like alarming them. Okay, you know what, this area are bad. Like you don't have a like blacklist of the database of blacklisted ether addresses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not just Ethereum, but it's also Bitcoin. Bitcoin, there's a lot more. Um, but yeah, certainly, we've already plugged into bitcoinabuse.com. Um,
Hmm.
the next week it should be representing on the graph here. So it's sites like that. There's a lot of data sets out there, as well as some private data sets we'll be plugging into. And that what you're describing there is very much, it's a community. It's something for the community, right? Community watch. It's something we need to do to help benefit the community, is to make people aware that certain addresses are associated with something nefarious.
Hmm. And then sometimes, because sometimes I see that like in non-fungible tokens, sometimes strange things happens, like strange fundraising, like in a very short
Mm,
time, a large amount. And sometimes I tell myself, it's good to be true, right? Unless you see your system, you might not be able to figure out what's happening. Your system is gonna tell them that's the reason why it's not good. It's good to be true, you know.
that's right. Yeah, it can give you very much a different perspective, of what's a bit more information on what's really happening, you know,
Yeah,
because generally when some sort of nefarious stuff is happening, there's some sort of whale manipulating the price or manipulating something. So
yeah.
they would show up here.
Hmm. Is there any other questions that people have before we, like other questions?
Yeah,
You didn't mention about pricing.
Adebayo.
You didn't mention
Oh,
about pricing.
Adebayo Gates. Okay, yeah, I'll mention the pricing after. Adebayo Gates had a question here, or I guess a comment. That the Bitcoin abuse will definitely be, you know, it'll be very clear that it came from Bitcoin abuse, you know, because it is a community project. It's a value add for the community. And it, yeah, as you mentioned, it's very important to take that information with a grain of salt because we don't know how well curated that data is. Okay, so yeah, that's a great point. We should mention the pricing here. So we have three different plans. You know, the free plan, that's as you guys are surfing, you know, just kind of gives you an opportunity to search around, you know, try it out, get familiar with the tool, and get a sense of if it's something for you. We have two paid plans, which are the individual and business. And the general way of thinking about the paid plans are we're never gonna charge you, we're never gonna charge you money to use the tool. But what we'll charge you for are features that save you time, right? So something like the you know, seeing the USD value of a transaction, right? You can, like, a transaction took place a year ago, but it would be difficult. You know, you can go and calculate and see, oh, well, the price of ETH on that date was X. Or, you know, through our tool, we just save you time by showing like what the USD values are. And so really, you know, that's where our pricing comes from. And so we have our promo pricing right now because we're getting started. You know, it's $49 a month, but regular pricing when it comes in effect will be 99. And if you compare that to what exists now of like, you know, the alternative is 30K license fee, it's quite a deal.
It's
And
honestly
then of course,
for investigators, this is nothing. Like if really investigators, as you mentioned, 30,000 usually is for investigators,
absolutely,
especially for some people like open source, as you put a $0. For some people who doing hobby, you know, doing very minor things, you know, the free and even the prices are okay. But for investigators, honestly, the price is so reasonable, as I'm seeing.
absolutely. And that comes back to the original story of, you know, I wanted to put together an investigation and couldn't. And that's what we care most about. This is about inclusion and, you know, the whole ethos of the blockchain community of being open source. And so this is like our main advantage over our competitors is the inclusion, is the pricing.
Hmm.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
and then that's great. And then one thing is that also, do you want to also mention very quickly, maybe 1 or 2 minutes about your book, because we like to know about your blockchain book,
Sure.
what is it about, like.
Actually, it's funny. As we were talking, the sun set. I'm just gonna turn the light on. I wasn't really prepared for that. Yeah, if you're new to crypto, this is wrote this book called Mastering Blockchain through
Hmm.
O'Reilly Media. I actually just found out Matt wrote a book as well through O'Reilly Media.
But your book is
So,
better. Your book is better because
well, thank
for
you.
this, for your platform, it's a fantastic book. Go ahead.
Yeah, we actually, it's cool. We do have a chapter 8 in the book on it's called Catch Me If You Can. So it has like everything nefarious from like Mount Gox to Silk Road to how to launder money through crypto. Um, you know, it's got everything. So it's very wide reaching. And it's a very good introductory book for somebody who's new to the industry or somebody who wants to like, you know, deepen their knowledge.
And let me see on the meetup, did you add the link to your book? Let me double check. I mean, what you can do is that if you give me the link, your book, or you add it in the comment, then
Sure.
yeah, people can check it out and buy it. It's a great tool that goes hand in hand with your, is the demo that you did.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to do that. Can do that after, or I'll just put it in the chat window here. It's basically mastering blockchain. If you just Google it, it'll come up. Okay.
And then, is there any other questions people